Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast.
What's going on, everyone? We are the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Another episode today. We have joining me tonight is Rich Kopak, Chris Felice, and Joe Capozzi. I'm your host, Matt High. Got a fun show tonight. We're going to be doing rookie tiered rankings because it is Dynasty season. We actually have a rookie draft going on right as we speak in Rich and my league. So shout out to the Hog Dynasty. Don't take my pick, guys. So we'll see. So how are we doing tonight, gents?
I'll start us off. I'm doing great. Can't complain. We all got done from a fantastic and wonderful weekend celebrating our very own Joseph here getting married. So that was fun. Congratulations again, Joe. It was a fun time. And now, yeah, we're very excited to get into this. Rookies are here. They're all getting a lot of speculation going on. So yeah, no, I'm excited to just talk about them.
Yeah, it was a fun weekend. It was the first time ever that our entire the Heroes of Fantasy Football Dynasty League met in person for the first time ever. So that was exciting. We got a picture, and then one of our buddies in that league, Mr. Josh Love, in a different Dynasty League, drunkenly got the 101 from Mr. Marson. So he was very excited about that and told everyone. Granted, I would not have done that trade
multiple times.
He gave 2 firsts for that pick. I don't think that was a good deal for him, but he was very happy about it. So, congrats, Josh.
I feel obligated to tell everyone I orchestrated that trade. So
I don't think that was a good trade for him, but
I think so. But
2 first rounds in a heavily talented class, as we're about to go over in this tier rankings.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say right now is that most people that went there probably don't remember half of the wedding. Most likely, especially Josh. I don't know what he remembers. He definitely had a fantastic time.
It was a great time.
Yeah. No, but we had fun. We had fun.
Now, before we get started, Joe, you've been married for a couple days. Have you learned the golden rule yet?
Nope.
No? There's time. There's time. Happy life. All right, let's get this thing going. We're going to go over, so each one of us here made a rankings tiered list. What we did was basically made our consensus just to see where we are compared to each other. So we're going to go over each tier by itself, and then we're going to kind of go over and see if there's any disagreements, have a little bit of a discussion on why these guys are there, maybe why some other guys should be there or they shouldn't. So to get us started here, we're going to go with the S tier. We got Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. Pretty self-explanatory. They're really, really good. Now, just want to ask you guys a question as far as Superflex. I should also mention that too. This is a Superflex Dynasty tier for rankings for the rookies only. Year one, Caleb Williams. What do you think his ceiling is in fantasy? Real quick, just shoot out a number.
But like overall points, you talking about targets or
end of 2024 season? Where do you think Caleb Williams finishes? What is his ceiling if everything goes right? Is it QB 6, QB 12, QB 15? What do you think?
Top 25.
That's a ceiling?
That's what I'm guessing. I don't know. No one knows for sure, but he's going to get a lot of targets there in Arizona, so I'm putting him in the top 25 ending.
I think he meant.
I'm talking Caleb Williams.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Marvin.
Caleb. Now we'll get to him.
Yeah, sure. Top 25.
Second verse, same as the first.
Out of all the rookies, I feel like he's the most poised rookie set up for success out of any situation coming straight into the NFL. I mean, the Bears pretty much cleaned house and got him all new weapons, new coaches. It's like a whole new system there, and it looks lethal. So hopefully he can thrive in it.
What about you, Rich?
I think definitely a top 10 for me is where I could see him go. in the later half, but I can see it work, and I can see him breaking into that top 5, in certain weeks. I don't know if I would call it consistent, but yeah, no, I would imagine it's going to work out. Seems like it's going to work out, so this guy's got a lot of weapons around him.
All right, Chris, your turn.
I'll go with QB 14 on the air. I'm gonna go with like a hard consensus 14. I'm gonna go right there. He has the weapons. They've revamped that offense. They have a lot going on, which is where I also think there'll be some hindrances on his actual performance. He might be better than that, but I feel like the stats will align him at QB 14. I feel like there's no way he will end up at like the very bottom tier just based off of everything he's got going on around him. So I'll go with 14.
Yeah, I was going to say top 12 for ceiling year 1, which is high praise because rookie quarterbacks typically do not. I mean, last year his CJ Stroud had a pretty historic year, broke some records, and he barely finished inside the top 12. So it's very difficult as a rookie, especially someone who doesn't rush to the point where some of these other guys do typically. I mean, he has that part of it in his game, but it just depends on how much they let him do it. So I think that's pretty much enough discussion on the 101 in most Superflex pick drafts. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes into an excellent situation, immediately becomes the number 1 target for Kyler Murray on this Cardinals offense. I think he's going to be set up for success. Now, we're starting our rankings. I don't know if you guys did yet, but I got to the Cardinals and I actually statted him out for about 160 targets this year as a rookie, which could be bold, but I feel like it's hard not to see that happening because he's the only person there other than Trey McBride. So I'm very bullish on what he's going to do. Am I crazy for that level of praise or no? What do you guys think?
Personally, I don't think the term crazy. So I would go with, I feel like in a perfect world that would happen. I have worries about the Cardinals because of the short stuffing out the correct word. So few amount of options that they have going for them in terms of offensive maneuverability. While I have no doubt of Marvin Harrison's actual ability in the NFL, I doubt the rest of the team will make it easy on Kyler to actually utilize that ability. I think the target mark is perhaps in a good ballpark of where that would be. My worry is the execution. I'm not entirely sure where that line stands in terms of like how good they are, where they rank. I want to say they're in the middle of the pack from last year. I haven't really kept up with if anyone's left or if they've gained too many people. I haven't heard too much about it in the air, so I could be completely wrong and saying absolutely nothing right now. But just based off of what I've heard in terms of like how they're moving around, that's my only concern. I don't doubt Kyler. I don't doubt Marvin Harrison. I just doubt I pretty much doubt the rest of the construction around them.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's pretty much Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson. Those are the big guys. They lost a couple people too. Anyone else have anything to add about Marvin Harrison Jr. before we move on?
Well, I just want to kind of touch back on what Joe just said earlier. What was it about top 25? I want to know.
I said I think he's going to be in the top 25. He's going to get a lot of targets, as Matt predicted.
Yeah, I see. I think I'm going to put him as like a top 9 wide receiver this year. I'm very excited. It's going to be crazy. I just see a lot of Jamar Chase's game, where he skyrocketed in value, and I think that can very easily happen this year. So, all right, he's really good. That's basically what you just have to remember when you're in drafts. If you get him,
these guys are pretty good.
Yeah, just say thank you and move on. And if you're in our draft right now, just take the guy and move on so we can get to our picks. But you're not going to hear this until tomorrow when it's posted. But Mike, I'm talking about you. All right, now we're going to go our A tier. Jaden Daniels, Drake Maye. Is there any way you're taking Drake Maye over Jaden Daniels? I personally would not. I know that pre-draft I had them, Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, then Jaden Daniels. Now landing spot, I think flipped it for me.
I agree.
It's tough because Jaden Daniels, he has that rushing upside, which could equal a lot of fantasy points. He also goes to a better situation with the Commanders. They have Dotson, they have McLaurin, they got that new rookie tight end. There's a lot more weapons there in Washington for Jaden Daniels to succeed than Drake Maye has in a rebuilding Patriots. But it could be argued that Drake Maye has more long-term value. Some of the hits that Jaden Daniels has taken in college, those won't translate to the NFL. And if he doesn't learn how to kind of take those hits better or avoid those hits, he could be facing an Anthony Richardson type of situation there. I've seen drafts where JJ McCarthy goes above both these guys. Really, you're getting a starting rookie quarterback that has the potential to be a viable long-term quarterback, which in a super flex league, quarterbacks hold tremendous value, especially in the deeper leagues. You just can't pass up on a guaranteed first round starting quarterback in a super flex rookie draft. It's pretty much what it boils down to.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
Well
Now,
said.
I do want to turn the conversation back to Drake Maye. I've seen a lot of people. Now, I'm on the Drake Maye side right now. We'll find out when I get to my draft at the 104. I'm on the Drake Maye side now, but there is a lot of people, getting pitchforks out for JJ McCarthy. Better year one situation, throwing to Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Justin Jefferson's there too. Not too shabby. Drake Maye goes to the New England Patriots. Now, this is the first year we are going to have a Tom Brady and Bill Belichick-less Patriots offense. So it's a completely new situation. But where do you guys stand on that? Are you going Drake Maye or JJ McCarthy? Because this is going to be a decision I think a lot of people are going to have.
Can I ask a question? Are
Sure.
you talking Dynasty or like a 1-year thing?
Dynasty. If you had to make the pick, this is your team. You need to make the pick.
This might be the most coin flippy thing I think that might be discussed today. I feel like this is very 50-50 for a couple of reasons. One, we don't know the future of Justin Jefferson on the Vikings. You have no idea. He, I don't believe, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, hasn't extended, no contract been signed or anything for the future. This could be his last year as a Viking. That could be it. And if that's the case, you have Jordan Addison 100%, but TJ Hawkinson also will probably not be there for forever, I would imagine, unless if they re-sign him to some extent at some point, right? The future of the Vikings is a little shaky. It's not rock solid. We don't really know. Whereas on the Patriots side, yeah, they're obviously infinitely not as great. They don't have the superstars that the offensive positions. They don't have. They honestly don't really have much of anything going on for them offensively, for being honest. But they had they took a lot of initiative in the draft. They have a lot of people around them. And in reality, right? If that all melds together, right? The team can ride off this cheap victory and they can start signing off veterans and really good talent during off seasons to years to come and perhaps make a vie for some sort of deep run playoffs for perhaps next year or the year after. This year, probably not. But I would imagine that this is definitely like the most coin flippy thing because you're dealing with actual restructuring over in the Vikings, you really don't know what's going to happen. You can't truthfully bet on if players are going to stay, if things are going to work out in a sense. That this is very 50-50. I don't really know where I would stand on this. I don't really know.
I agree with you, Chris, but if you had a gun to your head and you had to pick one of these quarterbacks right now.
I'd pick Drake Maye.
Drake Maye,
I'll
Richie, which
believe in
quarterback
the,
you take?
I'm also with him on this. I'm gonna go Drake May only if I have a gun to my head.
Get
Other than that,
that.
I might just cry and close my eyes and just see
No.
what happens after.
Matt, what about you?
My heart is telling me Drake May because I know he got a lot of I guess negative publicity in the draft process where people
He's
were
getting it
gonna-
now. Like Mexico Burris is talking about him for some
Yeah,
reason.
saying that they regret
Like,
drafting
Yeah.
him in the third overall.
Sure, dude.
everyone is kind of saying, "Oh, it's a bad pick." I watched his tape and I was really impressed with the throws he made. Yes, he has some issues, but let's not forget he's also very young. He's one of the younger quarterbacks in this class, so it's he's got room and it's a new situation. And like last year, we had CJ Stroud drafted to a team that on paper looked terrible. And look what he did. So I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but that is in the realm of outcomes for Drake May. So to me, this pick comes down to do you need year one influence on your dynasty team? And if that's the case, I'd probably go JJ McCarthy. But from a talent standpoint and future dynasty, I think I'm still on the Drake May side because I think he has enough upside to go higher than JJ McCarthy. Like his floor could be pretty low, but like JJ McCarthy could be like the next Derek Carr, where yeah, he's in the league doing stuff, but is he really helping you for fantasy? Whereas Drake May, I can kind of see one of these high touchdown seasons, if things hit the right way. So that's the way I'd go. But it seems like we're kind of all in agreement, but I'll have that decision
Yeah.
in probably
This
10
is
hours.
so rough.
Yeah, I think I would go Drake May over JJ. It's tough. Like Chris said, it's very 50-50. I do like JJ. I think he's getting overlooked a little bit. An unpopular opinion for me, I'd probably rather have either of those guys over Jaden Daniels, for a dynasty perspective. But
Yeah, I think longevity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It's Jaden Daniels is an injury risk. Huge. It's the epitome of high risk, high reward. Because if he hits, man, he's going to hit big. But he could also be one of these guys that in a couple of years, like Justin Fields, where it didn't make it work, and see you later.
whoa.
We'll see.
Sorry, I would like to make an interruption really fast, only because these guys have been killing it for a while, right? If you guys have been following social media of the Chargers for a while, you'll know for the past 2 years they have made some banger content for their schedule releases, and they just made one in the game The Sims. Highly recommend you guys go watch it on Twitter. I haven't actually watched it yet. I just saw it on my feed. I'm gonna save it there for I just want to let everyone know.
You mean X, right?
Yes, there is no Twitter.
That's,
Even though it's
yeah,
Twitter.com
sure,
still.
whatever you say.
All right, so I want to turn the conversation back over to the wide receivers now. Malik Nabers and Rome Odunze are the next guys. Are we still Nabers over Odunze?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know the situation is a little bit more rough as far as future outlook. My only thing with Nabers is I think he could be his floor. I think is going to be Terry McLaurin because who's going to be throwing him the ball? That's always been kind of what McLaurin has had to deal with, just bad quarterback play. But I think he's also a little bit more talented, so I think he's got a higher ceiling, obviously. And Rome Odunze is stuck behind DJ Moore and Keenan Allen right now. I mean, that could easily change with an injury or something else. So I do think 2 years from now, where do you see these guys? Top 24 wide receivers, top 12 wide receivers. What do you guys think? Real quick.
They're both extremely talented. I like Malik Nabers a lot. Granted, as you said, the New York situation is not the best, but he instantly is the number one target there, just like Marvin Harrison. So it's kind of a nice situation where you don't have to worry about him like competing. Like with Odunze, he's great, but he's also competing against now, like you said, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. That's a lot of mouths to feed. Where who is been either Daniel Jones or Mr. Italian sensation himself. Who are they going to throw the ball to? It's Malik Nabers. So you don't have to worry about that as much. So I'd lean Nabers over Odunze for sure. And for a dynasty perspective, I think Nabers is going to be up there, but especially if the Giants are just starting to rebuild. I think they're going to look, if Daniel Jones doesn't perform this year, for a new quarterback pretty soon. So I'd be happy with him on the Giants there.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so next two guys here to finish out the 8th here, Brock Bowers and Jonathan Brooks. Now, one of us, I'll give you the floor, sir, has one of these guys in the S tier. So I will leave the floor to you. You know who you are. Go for it.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I won't preface this by saying this. Joe has been giving me a lot of word I can't say here. Flack, we'll say for this time being, for putting Jonathan Brooks in S tier.
Get him out of here.
So I would like to basically state my reasoning, right? And I'm going to hold true to this because I truthfully feel like this is how this is supposed to work. When you make the list, right, in the conditions that we were doing it, it is a dynasty list. You have to look at every single factor possible. The Panthers are rebuilding. Obviously, they have Bryce Young. They got their quarterback. If he works out, who knows? I really, really hope so. That'd be nice. I would love to see a more heavy quarterback diversity in terms of competition within the NFL. That'd be awesome. They have their new rookie talent. They have younger wide receivers coming in. Adam Thielen isn't the only guy there anymore. You have Jonathan Brooks coming in. They're working on the rebuild around on their line. They're doing the whole thing around the team. They understand what needs to happen. And we are entering an age where you have the Bills. 7 years ago, they were trash. The Bengals, the Texans, right? These teams finding opportunity in younger players. Granted, most of them through a quarterback, and then also through younger, cheaper players who they drafted or perhaps picked up and took a chance on. I find this situation for Jonathan Brooks to be extremely ideal. I'm not going to say he's the next Christian McCaffrey, although that'd be really funny to say. I'm not going to, because that's definitely not happening. I feel like, in terms of longevity, this could be a guy that could sit at the top of a decent amount of charts for running back potential for the years to come. Although, they don't last for too long. You got 7 years tops, right? In terms of running backs, I feel like this could be the guy. Right? If you're ranking this based off of, you're doing this off of a dynasty-like perspective and you're trying to maximize each pick based on the position, I feel like it makes sense to put him there. He has, in a sense, the skill. Obviously, the scare of the injury is there, 100%, but you're going to hope that because of the diversity of the Panthers offense, because of what they're trying to do, you're going to hope that they can leverage that to a certain extent to make him not at risk of re-injury again and really fully develop him. Am I going to say it's not a little shot in the dark? Of course not. Of course, a shot in the dark. We take a little bit of risk here, but what's the fun if you don't take risk, right? That's where I'll leave that.
Yeah, I mean, for him, it kind of depends on the situation of the injury, how much he plays this year. I don't think you're really thinking he's going to be immediate stud on this offense in year one, just coming off that injury. So there's enough concern for me. That's why most of us have him in the 8th tier. We think he's really talented. He still makes, the first round in our draft, but just a little bit difficult to put him over some of these guys, especially in Superflex. But you said your piece.
I did.
Now let's move. Now we can go. Anyone want to say anything about Brock Bowers? Where do you guys think he is? I know he's like Mayer is now.
That's like the one of the worst landing spots for him. But even though it's a terrible landing spot, he is still Brock Bowers. He still is one of the best tight end prospects to come out of college, probably since Kyle Pitts. So you still got to rank him high, and he's still a first round pick.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm taking a little bit later in the first now with that landing spot, but I think he's still good. It's hard for rookie tight ends. So I usually personally stay away from them but I get the allure because he is really, really good. Kyle Pitts was really good, and he's just been in a bad situation, unfortunately. So he does have a really high ceiling. So next we're going to move on to our B tier. Starting off with Xavier Worthy and Keon Coleman. Assuming we all would have Xavier Worthy ahead, correct? I know that's what our consensus said, but I think someone had Keon Coleman higher.
I had Keon Coleman higher.
Why do you think you should go ahead of Xavier Worthy?
I honestly just think it's a lot of what I heard of from Josh Allen saying that that's the guy he wanted. Keon Coleman being just a big-bodied receiver. I understand there's a little bit of concern with the 40 time, his overall speed. He doesn't really have the top edge to, I guess, maybe get off the defenders. But I don't know if that's necessarily just something that we can all say like that's it. There's no way for him to really fix any of that. I mean, it seems like he's a good receiver. And I mean, I don't know. I just love that there really is a lot of targets that need to go somewhere with the departure of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. So, I imagine Josh Allen's going to still do what Josh Allen does, but he's going to have to throw the ball. I mean, they can't just make it super one-dimensional. So I think Keon should, get peppered with targets and be able to make something out of nothing, really. So hopefully it comes true. That's really why I bumped him up to the A tier. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Keon Coleman, he got a little, I think it was the Senior Bowl where the coaches there were kind of insinuating that he wasn't putting in enough effort and stuff like that. So he got a little bit negative buzz, but his press conferences were awesome. They're hilarious. So I hope he does really well. And that offense is in desperate need of someone to step up. I think we all would think it's why am I blanking on his name? Khalil Shakir. I think he's got the best shot at taking the number one target.
Shakir season,
earner.
baby.
Yeah, it probably is because I don't think Curtis Samuel is going to do a darn thing, but that's just me. Moving on next, we have I'm gonna group these two running backs together: Trey Benson on the Arizona Cardinals and Marshawn Lloyd drafted to the Packers. Both are behind veterans. Trey Benson's behind James Conner. Marshawn Lloyd is behind Josh Jacobs. Where do you see them year one and dynasty? Are we putting them as top 24 running backs in fantasy this year, or is that too high of a ceiling for them right now?
I don't like grouping them together because I really like Josh Jacobs as a running back, and I'm not a big fan of James Conner. I don't think he's as good as Josh Jacobs, so that's why, at least personally for me, I have Trey Benson higher, is because I think he has a better chance of easily splitting carries and maybe even winning that role sooner than Marshawn Lloyd does. But what did you say? You said top 25?
Top 24,
Top
24. RB2.
It's tough. It all depends on if they win the starting job sooner than later, or barring injuries. If God forbid James Conner or Josh Jacobs gets hurt, then I could see that argument. But if just looking at it based off paper, I think it's too high for them. They have too many people in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have Marshawn Lloyd lower. I have two running backs higher than him. So I like Trey Benson. I think he has a decent shot to get a starting gig. James Conner does get banged up every now and then, so I could see him having more potential to get touches. But Marshawn Lloyd, I agree with Joe on the whole Green Bay backfield area there. So I much prefer to have like a Blake Corum or Jonathan Brooks than Marshawn Lloyd. But Jonathan Brooks didn't do it either way.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking these in kind of switching over to redraft thinking. These are guys that I'm going to be targeting if I'm going like hero RB or zero RB formats because like draft strategy, because these are guys that are going to go a little bit later, and the path exists for them to take over the starting job, whether it's to injury, poor performance by the veteran ahead of them, or they're just that good and we just missed it. And the situation, the coaches, can utilize them in the way that they were drafted to do so. So I just wanted to kind of throw those out there. Now I'm going to group. Well, let's talk about Bo Nix, and I'll group all the wide receivers together. Bo Nix drafted to the Denver Broncos. Where do you think you'd be comfortable drafting him in a rookie draft right now? Is he in the first round? Because he's usually right around the end, the 1-2 turn. What do you guys think?
I'm going to start this off just because I currently, in the draft that we are in, I'm in desperate need of a quarterback, and I have the 110. It goes 12 people, so the 112 before the turn. I don't have a second pick. I don't have a third round pick. I believe my fourth round pick is very late, and I have a fifth rounder. So basically, my options are going to be Bo Nix. I'm assuming is going to get to the 110. I'm thinking he will. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now. And honestly, I mean, at the end of the first round, I think I'm very comfortable with taking him. I don't know why I am in on him as much as I am. Maybe it's just also with the pairing of wide receiver that he got,
the
or really
Warren
the lack
effect.
of competition. Maybe it's that as well. But there's something about him that I really I'm in on, and I mean in a superflex setting, as we mentioned, quarterback has a more premium, price. So Bo Nix, I think you could definitely get him for that. If you can grab him between that 10, 11, 12 spot, I think it's reasonable. Especially if you don't have a second or a third rounder and you need quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. Is everyone in agreement? How high would you reach for him? Well, what is the earliest you would take him in a rookie draft in the first round?
1 point.
I think
Either
110.
1.9 or
1.10.
1.9 or 1.10.
Okay,
I would say the earliest is 1.8. That's if you're
that was the
desperate.
number I was gonna.
That's
yeah.
if you are desperate, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the number I was thinking. 1.8 would be the highest if I was back.
I am desperate.
I want to pose a question. Just I know we haven't gotten there yet, but Richie, if someone takes Bo Nix before you get to the 1.10, are you going to draft Penix or are you going to go for a different position?
No, it's because at that point, like the other players at that 110 spot that I'm looking at, I mean, Xavier Worthy and Brian Thomas are probably the two wide receivers that are around that 110 pick at that point. I really wouldn't touch a running back, so it's just really a consideration, or trying to outweigh that. And honestly, with the position that I have, I mean, the way that our league's set up, like we also have a auction draft from free agents and things like that. So I have potential to get quarterback elsewhere. So that also weighs in. So I'm going to tell you, yes, I would probably take Michael Penix just in my specific scenario where I don't have a second rounder. I would love to grab him in the second and not feel like I reached very high for him.
You don't want to feel like the Falcons.
Yeah, I don't want to feel like the Falcons, exactly. So, but it's tough, man. That's a tough call. So, I mean, hey, I'm just really hoping.
Yeah, I hope so for you too. I mean, the Falcons did go out and say Penix is their quarterback of the future. So,
Now I got a follow-up question here for you because I'm in that league. Let's say I were to trade.
He wants to snake some trades from you.
We know, Snake Boy. What's the question?
If I trade for the 108 and drop Bo Nix as my quarterback, nah, we're gonna group these guys together. So
I think that would be the end of the podcast.
It'd be the end of one of us, probably. Well, whether we're 6 foot in the ground or something else. But all right, moving on here to the other wide receivers in the B tier. We have Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., and Ricky Pearsall. Now, which guy, I think For me, Lad McConkey, I think, has the highest upside and the biggest path to immediate fantasy relevance compared to the other guys. Am I crazy for that? I see you, married boy down there. What do you speak?
The
Go ahead.
amount of disrespect that Brian Thomas is getting right now. Before the NFL draft, people had him at 1.8, 1.9 consistently in rookie drafts. He goes to the Chargers, or not the Chargers. He goes to Jacksonville, and all of a sudden now we have him so far down. I don't understand. He look at what he did in college, playing behind Malik Nabers. Give you, so he's not even the wide receiver one on that team, and he did excellent. And I think that's a perfect spot for him with T. Law. And I'd argue that he is instantly the wide receiver 2 there, and arguably could fight for the number 1 spot. And I think the disrespect. I'd put him even maybe talent wise, he's better than Keon Coleman and Xavier Worthy. And just because of this landing spot, I feel like we're just burying him, which disrespect.
Trevor Lawrence should help him. I imagine they should help each other. Should be a good thing. I agree with you.
Hopefully,
I would like.
we
I would
thought
like
that
to,
about Calvin Ridley.
I want to jump in really fast. I actually adjust classes. It is about landing spots. That's how this works. But I feel like that's why. I mean, who else is Herbert going to throw the ball to? Right. If we're, I just want to make sure that we're clear on this, right? If
Josh Palmer.
So anyway,
Quentin Johnston.
if we are on the train, right, and I understand that one player is way better than the other, that Malik Nabers is going to be fine because he's fantastic and now the only option on the Giants. While I understand that Lad McConkey might not be as good, does the same logic not apply?
No, it is the same logic, and that's why Lad McConkey is up there in the rankings.
Yeah,
Before the draft, Lad McConkey was not this high. It's
of course
because of that
not.
landing spot that he's higher.
But he's also you got Thomas
Um,
Jr. dealing with Kirk, who's also relatively young and could very well stay on there for many more years to come.
but I also
That's a
think
lot.
Brian Thomas is much better than Lad McConkey.
That's fair. But once again, I feel like the landing spot matters a lot here.
That's why Malik Nabers is so high in this draft, is because 1, he got that landing spot like Lad
Nabers.
McConkey, and 2, he is arguably, if he was in any other draft class, would be the number 1 wide receiver easily. It's
Sure.
just because he's in with Marvin Harrison. That's why
100%.
Malik Nabers is so high. Lad McConkey got the similar situation where he's the only guy there. He's going to get a lot of targets. It's going to be good for fantasy. But if we're looking at a talent perspective, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is a better wide receiver. And just because maybe this 1 year he is behind a couple guys, that doesn't mean like that's always going to be like that. Same thing with McConkey and Nabers. There's going to be probably some other wide receivers on those teams down the line for long-term value.
We don't have wide receivers.
You don't add wide receivers.
No, the Giants don't do that.
Oh, okay.
We don't.
My fault.
Sorry. Yeah.
I like Lad McConkey. I'd even argue I might even like Lad McConkey and Brian Thomas Jr. over Worthy and Keon Coleman. That's just me.
Rich, you got anything to add?
I'm just trying to absorb that last statement. I mean, Xavier Worthy for me, I think is a bust, honestly. So I'm okay with that. But Keon, I think has a chance to really prove it. And I really do like Brian Thomas Jr. also. So that's where it is for me. Lad McConkey, it's something about the Chargers, man. I mean, I think I just have a bad taste in my mouth from grabbing Quentin Johnston last year and that not working out. So excuse me if I'm just going to back off for the next season from the Chargers.
You're sad that you have Quentin Johnston? I have him in 2 leagues.
No,
I bit the
I
bullet.
traded him away. I don't have him anymore, but
Yeah.
I just want to point out, because we're in the B tier and we have Ricky Pearsall at the very end, and he is a first-round wide receiver. That is how crazy good value that this rookie draft class is. And we're picks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We're almost deep in the second round. We're almost at the third, and you're getting a first-round wide receiver.
Yeah,
Get those second round
picks.
Do not trade those second round draft picks away, because you are getting first round talent in the second round in this class.
Yeah, this is a very offense heavy draft for the NFL draft. So there's a lot of dudes. But yeah, Pearsall is stuck behind Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and there was
For now.
there's still trade rumors for both of those guys. So you think start of the 2024 season, are all three of these guys on the 49ers, or is Deebo or Ayuk on a different team? What just shout out Dark. What are the odds?
I think they all three stay. I think, because I believe that the Niners realize that their window is very close to being closed. I think they understand that at some point the money will catch up to them, and they need to make the most of it at this very moment. And I feel like they're the type of organization, based on what we've seen in the past and how aggressive they've been in acquiring talent, that they're going to try and do this all-in maneuver. Will it most likely cripple them for years to come? Very, very likely. There's a very good chance. I think it was right. I believe it was the Saints that had that 1 year where they went really, really into the hole because of how much money they had to pay, and they were like negative in cash space for like the next 3 years. I believe that was I think 5 or 6 years ago, if I remember correctly.
Well, the salary cap is made up, and the money doesn't matter. So
true, you are right. But hypothetically, if the numbers did matter, right, that it would
Oh, you're talking in real life, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly have a wide receiver over Ricky Pearsall that we don't even have on the list yet. But I mean, you can't disrespect Pearsall because he, one, like you said, is on a very good offensive team, and two, was a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, I'm willing to take the dip in value. Well, he's got good value this late in the second round. I'm willing to take that chance later. I did that in one league when it was T. Higgins, and he paid off pretty good. I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 in fantasies like ever, but he could very easily be one of these guys that's just solid. Like an Adam Thielen, where he was really good, might not have the top end, but still produces for fantasy. That's kind of the role I'm thinking Pearsall could fill on my dynasty roster if I'm in the second round. Because if you're late in the second round, chances are your team's pretty good anyway. So, getting a guy like this just to fill a flex spot every now and then is pretty darn good. But let's move on here to the C tier. There's a lot of guys here, and you'll notice a lot of them are wide receivers. So Xavier Legette, Jalen Polk, Adonai Mitchell, Malachi Corley, all these guys. Out of any of these guys that are listed here, who do you think has the best chance to jump a tier?
Legette. First round draft pick wide receiver on a team that doesn't really have any good wide receivers. I mean, it's what me and Chris were just talking about with Ladd McConkey, Keon Coleman, Malik Nabers, that you're going to get the targets there. Best chance to be a relevant fantasy asset. If we're talking long term, I could say Michael Penix. But for this coming immediate fantasy output, and I'd say Legette personally.
I will. I was going to say that, but if not that, I actually also think Burton could go up a tier for actually the same thing as Ricky Pearsall. I don't think he'll ever beat Jamar Chase for the job if we're on the thought process of Jamar Chase is going to stay a forever Bengal, but he could easily take over the T. Higgins role as the number 2 with all the thoughts and talk about him not wanting to be there anymore in the future, right? And as long as he's serviceable, right? But Joe Burrow slinging the ball, I mean, like that's going to be good for whoever has him.
Yeah, and Burton was going to be mine. Just to add to that, that could happen this year because T. Higgins could be traded before the deadline. He could even be traded before the season starts. And then you're talking getting Jermaine Burton, third round, end of the second, mid to late third round pick, like in your rookie drafts. That's really good. Those are the players I try to target looking ahead at the team situation, not just this year, but you're in a year after, because that's where you're going to get the value, where you look at these players and it's like, all right, this guy might be moving on, his contract's up, he could get traded. That's where you're going to get opportunity. And in the late second, third round, that's what you're looking for. Just potential outcomes where these guys are going to earn targets in a team that's pretty well established. So, what about you, Rich? What do you think of these guys? Jumping tiers.
It's tough. I'm kind of between Polk and Adonai Mitchell myself. I just feel like, the uncertainty with Drake Maye is really the question marks there. And obviously AR going down the season before, he looked good when what he did. And it's just a matter of kind of the the chemistry you can build with the wide receivers there. So also young, so it's question marks across, but something about those two, I think, with the uncertainty there, it kind of gives me that spark of could potentially be something there. And also shout out, I'm going to always give to the wide receivers that go to Pittsburgh just because of their way of hitting on wide receivers. So Roman Wilson, sleeper agent.
They have an unruly and uncanny ability to just be like, all right, let's sift through all these guys, and okay, I want you, and you're going to be amazing. It doesn't matter where they're drafted. Just if the Pittsburgh Steelers got them, your ears should perk up, and you should be like, okay, all right, I'm good. Let's put them on my team somewhere. I want to shout out two guys here. Ben Sinnott, tight end, going to Washington. He's in a really good situation, learning with a rookie quarterback. I don't expect him to do much year one, just because that's the way of the tight end position in fantasy. As a rookie, you just usually don't do anything. Last year was crazy. We had Dalton Kincaid and Sam Laporta do crazy things for fantasy. But Ben Sinnott is behind Zach Ertz on an offense that utilizes the tight end in two tight end sets. So Cliff Kingsbury is that coach, the offensive coordinator for the team who made Zach Ertz good. And guess what? Trey McBride was there too, and Trey McBride turned out to be pretty good. So this is kind of where I see the passing of the torch next year or the year after. As soon as Zach Ertz is out of the way, and let's face it, how much longer does he have? Third team now. So writing's on the wall for him. And the other guy is going to be Jalen Wright, Miami running back. Now, I know they just signed Raheem Mostert to an extension, another 2 years, but that was kind of spread out the money, helps the cap situation. That doesn't count and matter in real life, but very fast. I really liked his tape. Goes to a situation, Devon Achane, as crazy as he was last year, as good as he was for fantasy, he also missed a bunch of games. So I think this move by the Dolphins was to show they're not fully committed to him being the guy, to give him all the touches.
Well, you got Mostert there still too, I believe.
Yeah, he was signed to the 2-year extension. Yeah. So I think this is going to be a good trio. Now, I don't think Jalen Wright is going to do too much behind both of those guys, but I think
trio
for future. Well, for future,
I don't think I want a running back that's part of a trio, but I don't know. It's just me.
You're getting
I get pairs.
End of the third. You're getting him at the end of the third.
There's so much. Like, look at this class. Like, you have Leggett, first round wide receiver. You got Polk, early second, goes easily the number one guy there. Blake Corum, he has to go against the little guy over there. I think he could easily win the job. Donnie Mitchell, great talent. I'm surprised he's in the C tier just because of he fell to day two. Round 2, and now he has to go again. He's behind Michael Pittman, but still great talent. Corley behind Garrett Wilson, but he's on the Jets. I think he's an easy number 2, 3 there. Michael Penix, a first-round wide quarterback. That's the future of the Falcons, so per se, and you're getting him all the way down the C tier. Troy Franklin reunited with his quarterback from college. We got Ben Sinnott that you were just praising, who I also love. Roman Wilson, the Pittsburgh. Jalen Wright here. Okay. I think he's a decent player, but as you said, he's a part of a trio. I don't know, man. I don't want any part of a trio. I think Achane looked good enough. Mostert looked good enough. Josh traded for him. We all gave him crap, and then he still did pretty good, and he's still there with a 2-year deal. So I guess Josh is laughing at us now. So I don't know. That's just me. Maybe that's a wrong
I'm just
take,
looking at the value that you're getting. Late third round pick.
But
as a
I'd rather
back,
any of these other guys over over Wright personally.
I actually I'm looking at my list right here, and some people I have in D tier, and I would also rather some of the D tier. I actually put Wright in D tier on my list. I'm not the biggest fan of Wright, mostly because of his position and everything that's going on in him. I don't think he's bad. I just feel like it's an unfortunate situation of there's a lot going on, and there's not a lot of longevity in the running back position. That worries me a little bit, just the tiniest bit. It's unfortunate because, like I said, I don't think he's bad by any means necessary. I just, it's an unfortunate timing. I hope he does well. I truthfully do. I hope he ends up being this like 1-2 punch guy for the team at some point here. I just worry that might not come to fruition because of how long it will take for that to actually happen.
Well, just give me your third round picks then, and I'll take them, and I'll be happy.
I don't have those.
I'll write that check. Yeah, I know. Neither do I. That's why I want them. But I'm surprised no love for Blake Corum here by you guys, because I know you guys are.
I just said he's going to beat the
He
little guy.
just said he loved Blake Corum.
Oh, the little guy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't say it, Chris. I know you like the little running backs.
Very funny.
If they're 5'8" and below, you're like, let's go.
Yeah, I'm not. I gotta be honest with you. The Blake Corum, the whole running situation over at the Rams is a little sketchy to me because I can't remember who said it on the coaching staff of the Rams or ownership, but one of them literally came out and says, like, we're going to draft some running back in like the second or third round, and he's going to suck, and we're going to draft some guy in like the 7th or 8th round, and he's going to be our future starter for the next like couple of years. And that's just what's going to. And I don't believe in superstition for the most part, but like in this very specific scenario, they might be right. This might be accurate. It worries me a bit. I don't know if he beats Kyron Williams in the battle
No
for
chance.
the number 1 ever per se. It's a
I don't
little
know,
weird.
man.
I don't
alone
know.
on that hill.
It's really weird. I really don't know how to measure Kyron Williams.
Can we get a recorded Matt's dying on the hill with Kyron Williams?
I will say it clear. I will die alone on the hill where Kyron Williams will finish way higher than Blake Corum. He is not ceding touches to Blake Corum to the point where he's going to fall that far. I will still treat Kyron Williams as an RB1 in fantasy football. Not as high as last year. He's not going to be the RB3 or 4, but he's still going to be a top 12 running back. I will stamp my approval on that. I will clip that and I will post it. We'll save it. So if I'm wrong, I will eat crow. But I am not panicking on Kyron Williams because of Blake Corum's pick in the 3rd round to a team with a coach that loves to use one running back, and they've been looking for a guy that can do that since Todd Gurley left. So, all right, let's move on to our final tier. These are guys that it's going to take a lot, and there's a lot of them, so we're not going to get to everybody, but these are all the guys that are in here. You can see it's littered with a bunch of tight ends, some lower named wide receivers, and some running backs that either slow, stuck behind, like buried on the depth chart of their own teams, like Braylon Allen's behind Breece Hall. I don't think we're thinking anything is going to happen with him. Audric Estime. I know, Chris, you like Estime.
Only for year 1. This is not. I did not put him high on my tier list because of I don't think he's a perfect dynasty fit. I just feel like in a redraft format of this year, there's a very good possibility that he could for some reason be your league winner, for whatever reason. It's usually people like that for some unknown reason that just will come out of nowhere. Like, I mean, would you guess that Gus the Bus would be a league winner pushing people into playoffs? Probably not. No, but yeah, I consider them almost on the same level in a way, which is why I say that.
Eric All for me is a sleeper, though. You guys agree with Eric All, tight end for the Bengals?
I could see that.
They really have no one there outside of Jamar Chase. Now, we've already talked about Jermaine Burton. T. Higgins is probably out the door. I think he's got a shot. Now, these guys it's going to take a lot to get to the point where we're drafting them highly in fantasy, but these are like 4th, 5th undrafted guys in your rookie drafts. Anyone here you want to give a shout out to?
Am I going crazy? Are you missing people?
Yeah,
There
I
were a
mean, not
couple
everyone's
people
gonna fit
that were
here.
not. Yeah. There
Yeah.
were a couple people in our consensus that you guys sent me that I didn't rank, and a couple of us didn't do. So I
You know,
omitted
I
them.
would like to shout out one if he's not on the list. I'm gonna shout out one just because of how funny the prospect is. Jared, I'm gonna butcher this. Wiley, tight end, Kansas City, only because of how much they use the tight end position, and because you know hopefully the successor of Travis Kelce. I'm not saying he's going to be anywhere near as good, but if there's a shot, this might be. I don't see him on the list here. I could be completely overlooking him.
He's not. I didn't
Yeah,
rank him.
like I don't like this is once again definitely a shot in the dark to a certain extent, right? You shouldn't be spending high draft capital to get someone like him, but if you end up with him on your team, don't drop him. He's a taxi squad guy. You keep him there for a little bit. If I know Travis Kelce just signed an extension for like 2 years, but like after that's done, right? It's really anyone's game, and if Andy Reid likes him, he's gonna use him.
That's true.
Yep.
Let me shout outs from me from this tier. Theo Johnson, tight end of the New York Giants, has a shot of being number one guy there now that Mr. Irrelevant retired. I'll give a shout out to Baker. Not much competition there in the wide receiver room. Has a good shot of being one of the main guys there. And I'll give one more shout out to Luke McCaffrey. He looks pretty good. He's kind of buried in that depth chart, so it's kind of a terrible landing spot, but you never know. So, and all these guys could be something. You got to see what they are.
Yeah, the odds are stacked against these guys, but there are guys that jump, and we can kind of move them up. But what about you, Rich? Anyone speak to you at all?
Kind of between Buck Irving and Ray Davis. I mean, the running back situation of Tampa Bay just seems like it's Rashad White right now. So not real much competition other than that. So, just as taking a chance on anything, why not? Same thing with Ray Davis. I mean, I know we have James Cook there, but again, not much competition, and James Cook isn't exactly the full, bell cow that can take it all kind of guy anyway. So I don't know. Interesting to see what they can do as far as what they can contribute with. So yeah.
Are there any of these guys you're willing to send away anything for? Like, are you trading future thirds or something like that to get any of these guys, or are you just letting some of these guys are going to go completely undrafted and you're going to be able to pick them up? But
I think I got two. I'm gonna go with actually I got three. The two that Richie had said, Ray Davis and Buck Irving. I like them for the reasons of like RB2s could be very useful in a certain extent, and I feel like the Buccaneers will definitely use Buck Irving. And Ray Davis might, who knows, supersede James Cook if it somehow ends up going well for a short term. But the other person I'd like to perhaps take the chance on is Spencer Rattler. I am not the highest on Spencer Rattler, but if I could get a good deal and if someone takes like a low third or like a fourth for Spencer Rattler, I would definitely consider doing it just because I know that Aaron Rodgers cannot beat Father Time forever. He will eventually retire and someone has to take over. And my hope, I mean, regardless of opinions of Aaron Rodgers himself, I don't know exactly how much of a hand he had in mentoring Jordan Love, but he's turning out very fine right now. And if any of that is replicated into Spencer Rattler, I want that. I want it on my team. So, yeah, that's how I'm feeling there.
all right. Anybody else? Actually, I don't know why that says. When you said it, I was like, "What is?" Spencer Rattler is actually on the Saints. I don't know why that says the Jets, but he's not a Jet.
Oh my God, you're right. He is on the thing.
He's
So anyway, I'm
behind
gonna
Jared Goff.
retract everything I literally just said. Actually, no. Everything I just said kind of actually still applies. Now that I think about it, everything I just said still actually makes sense. I take it back. I put it in there. Just replace the quarterback. I take it back. I'm still doing it.
There are no rules here. No rules.
No laws when you drink the claws.
Nope.
True.
That's it.
But
All
yeah,
right,
no,
gentlemen.
great.
That was a fun show. There was a lot of good discussion. I know we disagree on some guys, but rookie drafts are here. Some have already been completed. We are in one right now. We're at the 103 in a long, slow draft. So we will continue on.
We should
figuring
live
out what it
stream
does.
our other draft.
That can be fun.
Yeah, we could do that. We'll set that up.
You guys can watch me make all the picks.
I'll be on
Yeah,
the
it's basically
airplane,
the pick,
but-
the draft of Joe. That's basically
draft
what
of
this
Joe.
is. It's just Joe picking every
we
single
can do a
pick.
money line on which one he picks first: Marvin Harrison Jr. or Caleb Williams.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll get an
Get
odds
that on
thing in there.
FanDuel.
But all right, guys, that is it for us this evening. Check us out on YouTube at the youtube.com/@theheroesff. You can follow us on X @theheroesff. Please like, share, follow, subscribe, everything you can possibly do. We're here. We want to get reviews. If you ask us a question in the review, we will read it on the show. We're getting into the time of year where there's going to be a lot of moving parts. There's going to be a lot of questions for trades. Should I take this guy? Should I trade this guy away? Let's build that team. Let's build that dynasty roster. Let's build that redraft roster, because this is the time where you either figure out if you're going for it or you're not. Put in the work now and it'll pay off later. So, all right. We'll catch you all on the next show. So long.
See you around.
See ya.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter @TheHeroesFF.